Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at Transformers Alternators Ricochet, um, and it's This is obviously Ricochet, or the G1 figure from Japan was named Stepper, whatever you want to call him. But the Alternators line was based off of trying to put the figures into like real world cars, even though they already were like Lamborghini Countach and all those sort of cars. They were like real, but like real legit cars they were basing it off of. And Ricochet is a Subaru. Um, he has the Subaru emblem. You might be able to see it. I don't know. Uh, if the camera can focus on it, I'll try to get it. There. You can see it. It's done in black, not in blue, but for what it's worth, it's already there. And since he's a Subaru, I have the box right next to me, and he is a Subaru Impreza WRX. So I don't really know what kind of car that is. For what it's worth, it looks like an average car. It doesn't look like a sports car or anything. I don't know, because I don't really know too much about Subarus, or even cars in general. But overall, since that was one thing that they're going for in the Alternators line, was a more collector-based toy line, and especially for the car, looking at it right now, it is nice. You have the painted in details for like the heating elements for when you're defrosting your car. Got obviously the flames of Ricochet, the nice deep black. It's nice and glossy. Obviously, it's a bit scratched up from being played with because I got this quite a few years ago. Tailpipe done in nice chrome, and the muffler. He has a license plate, New Jersey, Ricochet, Garden State, not Garden Center, duh. And I don't know if this happened with all the alternator figures, but it has this axle that connects the two wheels, which is connected by a magnet, and the two wheels, they move so you can turn them, opposed to it just being static, and then you have to turn the entire thing and make it look weird. You can just turn it, and it turns like a real car. Nice touch, but I really don't care. And seats are painted in there red, and you can see in there the gear shifter or the steering wheel. The console is done in silver. So yeah. That's one thing that the alternators really killed it with, is the vehicle modes, because that's what they were going for. So let's just get down to transformation. So the alternators, they had opposed to just a gun or a sword or something that stored on like the bottom or like on top, they made it integrate as like an engine or something. And for Ricochet or whatever figure shares this mold, or if he shares a mold with one of them, it's the I have to look at the box because I already forgot, even though I've messed with this thing quite a bit. It is the intercooler weapon. And oops, bit of dust. And I just like to rattle it out because you can't really get your fingers in there to pry it out. And obviously just looks like the gun folded in half. We'll just set that off the side. And the peg for the hand will go into the holes right there inside, but those are really tight, so I just leave it out like that, and I just put it in loosely. With his, and probably for whatever mold is shared with him, or if he shares a mold with anybody, you have to finagle this around to get it just right so it sits perfectly, because this hood extension for like where the engine would stick out is completely separate. So you just have to finagle the weapon around to get it to fit. But overall, that's really it. So weapon is out, and you can see his face in there. Oops. You can see his face in there somewhat, a little bit. But let's get down to transformation. You open up the doors like that, and also that's another feature you can do with them. Then you pull the top, the roof up on, and there's 2 pegs, and they go on those. There are 2 holes that go onto these 2 clear plastic pegs. So now we're gonna come down here to the sides, to these sides, and there's this weird slotting mechanism. So you're just gonna pull it apart, and you can see, hopefully, and just unfold this. You can see that there's this one slot, and there's one peg right here, and another peg right here, and they're offset. So they're like diagonal from each other like this. And then they go over this opening. I don't know if you can, how well you can see that. Over this opening, in this opening, right there. Right there. So it will fit in like this, so you can't like twist or anything. So it's not like a just peg into a hole or anything, or a slot or anything. So I don't really know. When you're folding this up, you kind of have to do that because it's a little finagly and fiddly, because you have to just, if you peg in one side, you might accidentally unpeg the other side. And I've done this quite a few times. Make sure that the knees are I'll show off better in robot mode, because it's easier so you can see it, but you want it to look like this. Obviously it all folded up like that, but you want the knees to look like this, to where they're facing forward and not back. They're bent forward and not bent back. So really the legs, you just unfold all this, and then you bring all this down, and then you can straighten out these, so we can have somewhat of a supporting base to work with, because the top, there's a lot of stuff we gotta do up here. So we'll transform the feet. We'll take the bumper and a bit more of it and hinge it out, and then you can get in here with your finger and push out the heel spur, because this wheel's right by it, and then you fold the door in, and same thing for the other side. You just push down and then bring out the heel spur, fold that in, and now you can arrange it to where now you can stand. Because there's a lot of stuff you gotta do up here, and it just helps to have him stand. So now we will come up here, and you can see, hopefully at least, that there's this cutout inside, and then this peg that goes in. You just pull that out and bring it out. Same thing on this side. You can see that it's not like a complete cut through. It's just like here. It's just like a dip, like a cut. It's cut in. It's not like a complete cut through, like a complete slot. I don't know if the camera got that, since I can kind of see that it got a little unfocused. And they move these whole assemblies to the side, like so. Swing them out to the side. Oops. Bring that one in, close them together, and then there are these 2 pegs, these 2 round pegs right there, and 2 side-by-side holes, and then those will peg together to secure all that together, and then flip up the seats, and then swivel around the waist. It starts out like that, swivel it around, yeah. There's your somewhat lower half of the body done, since there's quite a bit of the upper half that we've started. So now, for all this, we'll lay them down just so you guys can see. No, I don't know. There's no real way to do this. The times that I've done this, I've just blown through it because I've transformed him so many times. Obviously, you unpeg the wheels from these magnets. Yeah. Open the hood so you can push the arms out a bit easier. Oops. Push the arms through a bit easier. And you'll just position the camera a little higher. And then you'll pull the arms out like so. Just pull them out. I like to unfold them and then do that. And then undo it. Putting these in due to this mechanism right here for the wheel to connect to this axle can make it a little bit difficult to put them in there. Not like super difficult like a third-party toy to where it's just complex and you're bashing against everything. But really just pieces somewhat getting in the way, and you really have to just finagle it around. It's not like complicated, but it definitely is a bit harder than the rest of the transformation. But I'll just show you really quick. So I like to put the shoulder in first, and then fold the arm in, and then you can push all that in. And then obviously, it doesn't matter. You don't have to put the magnets together because it doesn't matter. Because by the time you put the other arm in, this one will probably come undone. So, and with this arm, I just like to do the same thing. You just finagle it in. You just have to finagle, and there's no real way. I just figure out a way how best to do it because it's just weird like that. There's no real specific way. It's just however you find the easiest. I've just found the easiest of doing what I just did. Fold the last arm up and then put it in. But the first one, leave it straight, put the shoulder in, and then fold it. And I think it's just personal preference. However you think is easiest. Might be this way that I did it might be hard for you, but that's one part that you might that might be fairly hard for some people. That's fine because sometimes I struggle with it because there are just bits that kind of like the fender, just have to mess with it just to get it in there. But that's the easiest way that I can think of. So just pull all that out again, push all that out, and pull it out along the shoulder. Gotta pull the head hinges down, and what you gotta do is, this is on a hinge, this wheel is on a hinge, so hinge it all the way back so this piece where the magnet is as far away from the shoulder, because you have to swing this around. I don't know how well you can see this. I'll show. You have to swing that around, and then that can happen. I'll show you from this side. So if it's like this, if it's just regular, you can't pass through because that bar that connects that has the magnet on it can't pass through. So you have to hinge it and then bring it and then swivel the shoulder around. So that's another part that you just have to take your time with, because due to it being on a hinge, it just likes to flop all over the place. So you just have to hold it and then move the shoulder. And before you can, obviously move the head down. And you can't, and this is something weird. I don't know how they do it, but You don't get enough room to be able to move any of this down. So what you have to do is you have to bring down this whole part, the windshield and all that, first. Unhinge that, hinge that down more, flip that around. So I don't know if you saw that, but the way it works is that with the windshield and all this, it can't hinge enough. So you have to bring this. So you have to bring out the. You have to bring out the windshield first, and then you can bring this down, and it'll give you enough hinging space. I don't know how that works, but and now this part, this hinge, the opening for the where the engine would come out, the engine flare. I forget what it's called. That part of a hood is specifically called. But that hinges, and that's where the head's going to come out of. So my best technique that I like to do is I like to angle this hinge up where the head is. I like to angle that and angle his head back so it swoops into it. So there's no clearance issues. Obviously, bring his head down all the way, and now you just flush that up. So yeah, there's Ricochet. Sorry if you couldn't see very much, because this he's all black and it's fairly dark. It might appear more dark on camera in my garage, because that's where I film. And the gun, just flip out the barrel. And it's for both hands. One finger is independent. And the others are molded together, but there's a hole in there. I don't know how well you can see that. There's a hole in there. And then there's that white peg on his hand. Just put that in. Put that into his hand, close his fist up. And now there he has his gun. Sorry if anything didn't show up during the transformation, because there's a ton of this guy that is black, and you might not have been able to see him. Me doing what I was doing. I tried to put as much light in here so you could see him, but sorry anyways. But back to the point is that, man, I've seen the Hound/Swindle mold. He's got a lot of the stuff hanging off of him. But I think Ricochet here, really the only thing that I really see that is kibble is these doors. Is the back doors. Which, those could have been figured out how to do something with. But overall, the windshield and the roof, I don't see that as kibble. Obviously, the door wings, those are meant to be there. I don't see any real kibble on him, or any exposed car parts that weren't supposed to be exposed. That's one of the good things about this nice deep chest for that his arms go into, that the tops of the seats go in, so you can't really see the seats, and it makes this nice tapering chest. So yeah, I really like this guy. And articulation wise, he's got a ball jointed head along with that hinge. You might be able to use that. I don't know. Somewhat of a ways due to transformation. He doesn't have very much leg movement due to, and the chest doesn't tab in anywhere, so be careful with that. Due to these flares on his, by his hips, or on his, upper legs, I don't know. Can't really get too much forward movement or outward movement. So, but those are on ball joints, so you can't really do too much with his legs. Obviously, no ankle tilt / pivot. He can rotate his arms full 360. He can make his arms go out that far, and then that transformation joint you can make him go out a little bit further. Double jointed elbows, obviously articulated fingers, ball jointed wrists, somewhat of a toe, like a toe and a heel spur. I guess you could use this one joint that you mainly use for transformation and the knee. And what's so ironic is of all the pieces of articulation this guy has, he does not have a bicep swivel or even a forearm swivel. I don't know, which I don't really care because I don't really pose my figures and toys, but if you want to pose them, then go ahead. But just move the arms out of the way really quick. When you're transforming him into car mode, obviously make sure his legs are straight. But when you transform him, I haven't touched this guy in a while. So I went back to transform him, and I forgot that you have to bend his legs this way. So like you're breaking his legs, and that will give you enough clearance to accordion them up to form the back of the car. Because I kept thinking that I had to fold his legs back at the actual knee. So if you have a mold similar to this, or exactly like this, or even Ricochet, remember that, because that is something that I completely forgot about. And one thing that has happened to me over the years of me just transforming him and all that, these pegs, the holes to the, you might not be able to see him because I've transformed him, but the holes that those little clear pegs go into have been all chewed up from me. They've just been chewed up and broken and stuff like that. So if you have a mold similar to that, that might happen to you, but even to this day, and they're all chewed up and broken, they still hold those pegs fairly well. So yeah, this is Ricochet, and for being introduced to alternators, I know that some of the alternators, they didn't have the best transformations. They were intuitive, they were kind of complex. From what other people say, this is the only alternators figure I own, but I love him. I was young when I got this figure, and I was young when I got this guy, and I transformed him fairly easily. Not compared to like Mixmaster, that Mixmaster, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Mixmaster. He wasn't difficult like that. He was intuitive, he was really complex, but he wasn't grueling and frustrating. And he's fairly durable. He looks pretty clean in robot mode, unlike other ones. He's not like flat like a couple of them. He's nice and bulky. He looks like a Transformer along with being a nice looking car mode. A fairly good transformation along with a fairly good robot mode. Good articulation and a good play value, I personally think, because he's got the moving tires. He looks good in his car mode. Stuff like that. I just like him. I like this figure. So obviously, since Ricochet or Stepper was an original repaint of Jazz, then there's probably a Jazz figure that is probably exactly like this. I don't know that because I don't know too much about alternators. All I know is this guy exists via my knowledge because this is the only one that I own. And this guy, I got lucky. I got this guy for $10, about 10 years from when this guy was released in box. So I was very, very happy to get this. On eBay and places right now, you can find him around the interwebs. Nowadays, he's about, I think, $30 to $70. I know it's not the big margin between, but a lot of people are selling him for more inexpensive. Some people are selling him for more expensive. So I don't really know, because I don't know too much about alternators. Are they worth that much? I don't know, because I got this guy for a banging price. Nice, a fairly good transformation, fairly good robot mode, and stunning car mode. Masterpiece style car mode, along with a fairly good chug style transformation and chug style robot mode. So I personally think that $10 is a bang up job to pay. And I bet for this being more of a collector style figure, and back in 2004, this was probably worth $30. I don't know, may have been 20. I don't remember because I didn't remember and I wasn't even alive then. So, I'll see you next time, because Alternator and this guy, he's super fun, super nice looking. He's not like a third-party toy. He's not like some of the Alternator figures that I've heard of that are complex but just look good, and some of them that have a ton of, it's just a kibbly mess in robot mode, not a fun transformation, but stunning car mode. And I think that's it, but other than that, definitely, in my personal opinion, I would buy this guy again. Even for $70, I'd buy him. So, I think that's it. So, those are my opinions on Alternators Ricochet, and he's a stunning, nice figure. So, see ya.